Hello, welcome to news on NTA International. I am Nancy Goody Anunihu. First, the headlines. Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission assumes office, unveils plans to introduce new enrollment system. Nigeria woos potential investors for information and communication technology sector at Africa Investment Forum in Dubai. Plus, World observes Human Rights Day. UN Secretary General says human rights must be central to COVID-19 response. And the news. Following the directive by President Muhammadu Buhari, the Minister of State, Labour and Employment, Festus Keyamo, has appointed Malam Abubakar Nuhu Fibo as Acting Director General pending the appointment of a substantive Director General for the National Directorate of Employment. In a statement, Keyamo says the acting capacity is to ensure there is no vacuum in the administration of the agency, while enjoining the Acting Director General to ensure a smooth and efficient running of the agency. The minister also directed Fibo to ensure a proper handover to him by Dr. Nasiru Mohammed Ladan Argungu of all government property in his possession. In another development, the Senate has appealed to President Muhammadu Buhari to reverse his decision on the removal of Argungu as Director General of the National Directorate of Employment, NDE. The motion by Senator Ibrahim Hadeja observed that although the President has the exclusive rights of appointment and removal of appointees, he should reinstate Dr. Argungu to ensure a smooth prosecution of the Public Works Program, which has been delayed for 4 months. The legislators reiterated the National Assembly's support for the program and advised against derailing its intendment. Meanwhile, the Senate has urged the Independent National Electoral Commission to comply with the court order that the Abraka State constituency from the present Ethiopia East local government area be restored. Deputy President of the Senate, Omo Ovie Agege, moved the motion. Former chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Task Team, Abdurrashid Maina, fainted on Thursday during the resumption of his trial before the Federal High Court, Abuja, for alleged money laundering and theft of about 2 billion naira pension funds. His defense counsel, Anayo Adibe, was making a submission before the court when Maina's fall drew the attention to the dock. Olabode Arewa has more.
The trial of Abdurrashid Maina was ongoing, with his counsel informing the court that he was yet to be furnished with the processes related to the case when the defendant slumped. He was immediately attended to by officials of the Nigeria Correctional Service, while the presiding judge, Justice Okonabang, adjourned the proceedings. Maina had been in correctional custody following his extradition from Nigeria Republic on December 4, 2020. Meanwhile, trial of the convener of revolutionary protests, Omoyele Sowore, has been stalled at the Federal High Court Abuja due to the absence of the trial judge, Justice Ijoma Ojoku. Sowore and his co-defendant, Olawale Bakare, were already in the courtroom before the registrar informed the parties that the judge was indisposed. The two defendants are facing a 2-count charge of conspiracy and treasonable felony proffered against them by the federal government. The case has been adjourned to Friday, December 11, 2020 for continuation. In Abuja, Olabode, NTA News.
And to gender reports now, more groups are adding their voices to the campaign against gender-based violence in Nigeria. Correspondent Austin Anyebe reports that as part of activities to mark the 16 days international action against the menace, the West African Action Network on Small Arms organized a seminar to sensitize people on the danger to society.
Cases of violence against women in various forms abound in Nigeria as they dominate daily media content. The abuse ranges from physical, emotional, extreme jealousy to sexual. The worry by activists is that perpetrators of this violence mostly go unpunished due to near absence of legislation and slow judicial process to deal with offenders.
Violence against women causes human suffering. There are impediments to personal development. Sometimes, for this financial abuse, a man will, out of displeasure that the woman may go and get promoted and start making more money than him, he will stop the wife from working.
The molestation, cruelty and bullying of women often take place in the presence of children who see the acts of violence as ways of life.
Ties ourselves against violence against women, violence against children, violence against each other, because it's by changing our way of thinking that we can fight this.
While condemning the Inhuman Act, stakeholders in the forefront of the campaign against gender-based violence urge women to be tolerant, as some of them lack respect for the male gender.
The women will seriously have to deal with our mouths. Like she said, you cannot stand up to him. When he slaps you, all you will do is, did you just slap me? Did you just slap me? Yes, he just slapped you.
They are tired of winking in the dark as women. A strong man protects a woman. That is the beauty of a strong man. The beauty of a strong woman is to respect the husband. If you don't have those things, you are not beautiful.
Way forward, they appeal to government to come up with a Family Protection Act that will support women and girls who are subjected to abuse. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
International Human Rights Day is observed on December 10th every year since its adoption by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports that the day is aimed at reaffirming the importance of human rights in rebuilding the world, the need for global solidarity as well as interconnectedness and shared humanity.
People and their rights must be front and center of response and recovery. We need universal rights-based frameworks like health coverage for all to beat this pandemic and protect us for the future. My call to action for human rights spells out the central role of human rights in crisis response, gender equality, public participation, climate justice and sustainable development. On Human Rights Day and every day, let's resolve to act collectively with human rights front and center to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and build a better future for all.
The Universal Declaration is a milestone document that publicly affirms the absolute rights which all human beings are entitled to. This year's theme, which is linked to the COVID-19 pandemic, is Recover Better, Stand Up for Human Rights. Respect and protection of human rights of Nigerians have been emphasized as paramount as the nation marches towards the path of economic recovery amid COVID-19 pandemic. Omenka Marachuku reports that Executive Secretary, National Human Rights Commission, Tony Ojukwu, noted this at the 2020 celebration of International Day for Human Rights.
Issues of human rights violation in Nigeria has been on the front burner, and the National Human Rights Commission is leaving nothing to chance in this regard. The 2020 commemoration of International Day of Human Rights draws global attention to individuals and collective rights to peaceful coexistence without discrimination.
Every Nigerian at least has an opportunity to enforce his rights. If your right is challenged in Nigeria today, there is nothing stopping you from challenging your rights. There's a constitutional provision of accessing the courts, from High Court to Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. And nobody can be stopped from using the opportunity of the Constitution to challenge the violation of his rights. So to that extent, I can say, despite the fact that there are infractions of human rights, still everybody has the unlimited capacity to challenge the violation of his rights in Nigeria.
In line with this year's theme, which is recover better standing for human rights, the Commission is seeking stakeholders' collaboration to advance the campaign against human rights violation in Nigeria. In Abuja, Omenka Marachuku, NTA News.
Still on the 2020 International Human Rights Day, we have in the studio Asma'u Benzis Leo, gender and women rights advocate. Glad to have you in our studio, Asma'u Benzis Leo.
Good evening, viewer. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, the cases of human rights violation in Nigeria are said to have reached an alarming dimension, cutting across all spheres of human life. What should be done to address this situation?
Basically, we need human rights education. And when I say human rights education, I mean from childhood. Children should be taught to know their rights, their fundamental human rights, from homes to schools. The media should also take it as a point of responsibility to educate the citizenry on what human rights entails, so that everyone whose right is violated can be able to understand and then seek for redress. As not only that, there should be also legal or legislative and judicial provisions for the protection and enhancing of human rights within the context of the law as enshrined in the Constitution of Nigeria.
You are advocating the enlightenment of people on human rights. Now, the theme of this year's celebration is Recover Better, Stand Up for Human Rights. Could you shed more light on the theme?
Yeah, standing for this year's theme is timely, owing to the fact that the COVID-19 has come, and it has come with a lot of impact. And the impact is not generalized because it has impacted individuals, institutions, organizations differently, especially for the vulnerable groups in the community or in the society. This year's Stand Up for the Rights of the People is basically aligned to the 16-day activism, especially for ending gender-based violence. It is collective effort and a call by the United Nations Secretary General to harmonize the approach of government and people to seek how they can protect the right of these vulnerable groups. And this can be done in so many ways. Those whose businesses have been affected, those whose health and well-being has been affected, those whose mental and psychosocial health has been affected, have to be given the needed support in the society. And it is not an individual thing, it's a collective thing. So whether you are a man, a woman, an institution, organization, it is a clarion call that we must come together and protect the rights of each other, because human rights are not in isolation, they are universal, and every human being has the right to enjoy this fundamental human right. And that is why the theme was given for Recover Better, Stand Up for Human Rights.
Thank you so much. Thanks for talking to us, Asma'u Benzis Leo, gender and women rights advocate. You're watching the news on NTA International. We take a short break. More stories when we return. For staying with us. The rise in COVID-19 infections and fatalities situation in other parts of the world is a pointer to the need to continue to observe all non-pharmaceutical measures to lower the risk of infections in Nigeria. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, who gave the warning at the Thursday's briefing, said the task force has persisted on deepening risk communication and community engagement, surveillance, testing, as well as pursuit of a viable strategy for accessing the vaccine in a safe and effective manner.
The health sector, we are seeing a gradual increase in the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the past few days, which we have frequently alluded to in recent times, which rightly suggests that we may well be at the verge of that second wave of this pandemic.
There's no doubt as we approach the festive season, there's a high risk of contracting the virus due to mass travel. The PTF is urging everyone to avoid international travel this season unless it's for an essential need. There's no doubt travel restrictions will continue to grow across the globe due to rising COVID-19 cases.
The increasing number of cases that we're seeing across the country. And good thing our surveillance system has picked them up, demonstrate the system is working, and now really it's to us, for all of us, to respond to that increase collectively.
Still on COVID-19, South Africa enters a second wave of the pandemic as it registers nearly 7,000 new cases in 24 hours, just as Ethiopia frees 1,000 kidnapped soldiers in Tigray. Joyce Ometu brings us a global update.
South Africa's health minister says the country is now experiencing a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic as the country reported 6,700 new cases on Wednesday. The minister said there was a spike in infections among those aged between 15 to 19 years. Reports say 4 provinces, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng are the key drivers of the new wave. Meanwhile, as the world watches mass vaccinations begin in Britain, the director of the Africa Centers for Disease Control, John Nkangason, warns that Africa may not get COVID-19 vaccines until the second quarter of 2021. In South Korea, authorities are scrambling to build temporary hospitals in shipping containers to alleviate medical facilities overstretched by the latest coronavirus wave. Authorities have also increased the numbers of residential treatment centers and clinics. Statistics registered by Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Research Center indicates that global cases have reached 69,499,706, with Nigeria accounting for 70,669 of the total figure. Now to other stories. The EU has published contingency plans in case of a possible collapse of Brexit trade talks with the UK. The plans are aimed at ensuring basic UK air and road travel, as well as allowing the possibility of fishing access to each other's waters. From Ethiopia comes a report that the federal forces have freed 1,000 soldiers who were kidnapped in the northern state of Tigray by fighters linked to the now overthrown regional administration. Among those freed was the deputy head of the Northern Command, a military base attacked in early November, which triggered the conflict. In the meantime, Ghana's main opposition party has rejected the election results declared by the Electoral Commission, citing alleged irregularities. Officials of the National Democratic Congress said they will make known their next course of action. And that's a global update. I am Joyce Ometu.
On to economic and development matters, potential investors in Nigeria's information and communication technology sector now have a golden opportunity to do business without hesitation, as there are advantages to derive from. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, said this while wooing investors at a side event of GITEX 2020 holding in Dubai. ICT correspondent Joseph Johnson reports.
Hall bringing together the green and white flag nationalists for the African Investment Forum. Nigeria's Minister of Communications and Digital Economy paints a picture to ICT prospective investors. Pictures of what he calls golden opportunities and why Nigeria stands tall in Africa as a lucrative choice for ICT investments.
Nigeria is the strategic gateway for investment in Africa. When you invest in Nigeria, then technically you have invested in Africa.
We focus more on human capital development. We do a lot in terms of infrastructure, and we are creating the ecosystem for the fund to flow. As a result, last year, Nigeria attracted 51% of the total venture capital flows to Africa, which is the largest in the continent. Therefore, we invite you to come and invest in Nigeria.
An invitation many here believe is worth accepting, as the impact of the sector on the nation's GDP in the second quarter of 2020 itself is a clear testament to the fact that Nigeria is open for IT business. While discussions also centered on how the continent can proactively seek better ways to leverage digital technologies for development, The question of Nigeria's potential as a choice of IT investment destination in the 21st century, the federal government says, is definitely not in doubt. From the World Trade Center in Dubai, Joseph Johnson, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the federal government is providing opportunity and enabling environment for investors willing to invest in various parts of the country. This is in addition to the support being extended to medium and small-scale business to survive the shock of the COVID-19 lockdown. Musa Baba Aliyu has the details.
In the next few weeks, the year 2020 will come to an end, but the social and economic challenges associated with the year, owing to the outbreak of COVID-19, will not be forgotten easily, as it affected businesses across the country.
Sales actually dropped, and so many things happened negatively, but we are hoping for the best.
This meeting of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment analyzed various interventions by the federal government towards boosting post-COVID-19 business activities.
The federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, is committed to the pursuit of implementing the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan, MSME Fund, designed to revitalize and strengthen MSMEs in Nigeria following the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic impact on Nigerian businesses and livelihood.
A representative of the Vice President briefed participants on the impact of Survival Fund.
The impact is that we are putting money in the hands of the ordinary business owners. We are for those that their businesses are not formalized, we are helping them to formalize these businesses. So it's going to trickle down. It's going to trickle down to everyone.
The National Council on Industry, Trade and Investment.
This forum is the 12th meeting of the National Council on Industry, Trade and Investment. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And on the political front, the All Progressives Congress, Caretaker and Extraordinary National Convention Planning Committee has postponed the membership registration, update and revalidation exercise. Chairman, Caretaker Committee, Governor May Malabuni, represented by the Secretary at a media briefing at the party's National Secretariat, attributed the development to several factors.
Including the fast approaching Christmas and end of the year celebrations, as well as the interests of our Christian members and the objectives of ensuring maximum participation. The Caretaker Committee has decided to shift the date of the exercise to the second week of January 2021. The Caretaker Committee sincerely regrets any inconveniences that may arise out of this change in date.
For understanding on the part of the public, as the postponement is aimed at preparing a solid foundation for a successful exercise. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is to introduce new voter enrollment system and commence voter registration exercise from the first quarter of 2021 till 6 months into the 2023 general elections. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu stated this during a handover ceremony in Abuja. Mia Ogidi reports.
It is 8 a.m. and staff of INEC headquarters already out to welcome the returning chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Arriving one by one, first was the secretary to the commission, then the outgoing acting chairman. Few minutes later, the sirens of the convoy enveloped the air, the arrival of the chairman, but movement obstructed right from the gate by jubilant staff. He has to leave the comfort of the car, so he did. A beautiful card from an excited staff to the new chairman in remembrance of this day. Tempted to have a handshake in the African way, but limited by COVID-19. Mahmoud Yakubu in an excited mood, now bearing a nickname, 99. First tenure ended on the 9th of November 2020, second tenure started on the 9th of December 2020. Flanked by national commissioners, he moved to his office, first man to walk through this door twice, then to the conference hall for the official handing over ceremony.
I'm happy to note, Mr. Chairman, that the elections were all conducted and concluded successfully in spite of a wide range of challenges.
face mask off for clearer audio to give clear roadmap for the new era.
That we would be happy if the Electoral Act amendment is passed by the end of March 2021. For our part, the immediate area of attention for the Commission is the resumption of the continuous voter registration exercise also in the first quarter of next year. And this will continue at least until 6 months to the 2023 general elections. In doing so, we hope to introduce a new technology for voter enrollment in 2021.
It is official. Mahmoud Yakubu is back after 30 days off. His message to fellow Nigerians is the fellowship in the democratization journey. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
And that story on INEC concludes the news, but do remember always to connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists.